Okay, we're back again. Hopefully, we can get it right.
Let me just try to remember everything we said the first time. Episode number 69 of the Art of Coaching. I remember back when we were at like 43.
I think you said something different the first time, but that's okay.
Yeah, like 39. It is Wednesday, my dudes. It's from the meme, You Don't Like Napoleon Dynamite, and boom.
And we're all caught up from what we talked about on the previous recording.
Yeah, we had technical difficulties, so we had to do a take number 2, but this one's going to be better than the first.
So now this gives me a bit of underlying anxiety, like I'm going to constantly be wondering if the recording has gone out or something.
Well,
so if you notice something, see, I don't know how you have your screen set up, but I've got the podcast doc on one side of my screen, and then the actual live set up on the other side.
That would probably be smart.
I do want to cover some people that are not sponsoring us today.
Okay.
Actually, the only one that I want to cover would be legitimately what? Is it working?
Happen again.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. You want me to do sponsors while you do this?
Yes.
Yeah, so the not sponsors. We have not sponsors today.
Oh, no, it says it's working still on my side.
Oh, mine got
Is it?
It says live video. I'll try refreshing.
Oh.
We have SFH with their shaker bottle.
No, so the only person that I want to really sponsor, that I would like a sponsor with, is Oakley. They're been such a big fan for like 30 years. So if Oakley is listening, somebody representative with Oakley, if they could sponsor us, or just me, selfishly, just me. Only sunglasses, it doesn't matter about anything else.
Their sunglasses
are the best.
Those kind are way cooler than the ones.
Don't even say it.
The ones, what? I was going to say the ones that are like the 2005s that are like super big, but then they also have like the huge frame and the blue. Like, let me look up like Oakley glasses, Oakley sunglasses, and they're just. Let me see.
Alright, well, you look that up.
Like these, man, like not too big of a fan of these. These actually don't look that bad.
That's a blank screen.
There we go. Like, there's too much going on. Like, yours are very.
Those are okay. Those aren't too bad. Alright, so upcoming events. The Open starts this week.
Tomorrow, actually.
Tomorrow, the headquarters releases the workout.
Yeah.
And then we will be doing it the next 3 Saturdays. So this Saturday, the next Saturday, and the following Saturday after that. We are dubbing ours this year Fitness and Philanthropy.
Yeah.
What we're looking for is donations in the form of clothing and food, in particular non-perishable items. So just think of your canned goods and things that cannot go bad in a short time frame.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to be collecting that. If you bring it in, we will have spaces designated for you to place it in. If you're not sure where to place it, just flag down one of our many beautiful staff and they will direct you, or they will take it off your hands for you and stash it on their own.
Yes.
I lost track of my words.
Not on their own self. We want to stash the clothes on
You have to put on all the clothes and then do your open workout. And I'm going to have a backpack where you can hold all the food as well.
Oh, that'd be like fireman gear.
Yeah.
You ever see the music video for the Weezer song Pork and Beans? And it's a guy, and he's just it's just a guy and he's time lapse and he's putting on shirt after shirt, and eventually people, and so it reminds me of that. It's like this guy puts on like 100 shirts or something like that.
No, but do you remember a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago for the Open, Marc James put on every CFG shirt ever that he has, because he's got all of them, and then there's like a consecutive like 15 pictures that Rob took of him, like he'd take off a shirt, all right, now take another picture, take off a shirt, and just all these photos of Marc James.
Dang.
In all those shirts.
I gotta find those, look at those pictures again.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
good.
It was hilarious because he'd flex, right? And then he'd take it off, and then he'd give another flex. Yeah.
It's like, Mark, what are you doing? It took a couple people, a little bit of time to realize what was going on. That, like, there were different shirts every time. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first announcement. And then second is we've got Emily's clinic, gymnastics clinic coming up on the 17th of April. Is that right? Because I think last time I said it incorrectly.
No, it was the incorrect date on there, but I told you that, and then we said the correct date last episode.
Okay,
now
so it is the 17th, and it's also correct on the board that's
Yes.
behind the camera that nobody else can see but us.
Correct.
Okay.
With a nice graph on it.
Oh, my youngest brother, Cody Martin, is listening. Maybe he can talk to Oakley for us and get a sponsor.
Maybe, yeah.
You know,
come on, Cody.
Being an athlete. All right, so today we have a little bit more of a loose, open format, and I don't mean like CrossFit open, I mean just kind of an open format of what we're going to be talking about. So first, you and I are going to kind of give our predictions as to what we might see in this first workout, which is 21.1. And then after that, you are going to kind of walk us through first, in big picture terms, a macro view about what our next block of programming is going to look like here at the gym.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of, pose some questions your way, maybe give people a little bit more insight into all the thought and everything that goes into it. And then if we want to get a little bit more granular, micro, we can actually talk about what the next week. So specifically, what you have programmed for the week. Now, granted, everything is going to be individualized per the person that is coming in, but at least it'll give much more context in terms of movement patterns, time frames, loadings, things like that, so people have something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be cool for people to listen to and kind of get a glimpse, a snapshot of what next week looks like a couple of days in advance, and just so they know what's coming up afterwards, but or after this week rather. But that
first, but actually before the open prediction, I do want to say that I am wearing a new pair of shoes. So I don't know if you can see in the camera, but I've got the new a new pair to me of the old Nano. This is the Nano X, so this is the 10th iteration.
What's the new one?
The XI, the 11. So they just released that. Yeah, they just released that. Of course, a little fanfare. But anyways, a couple of interesting observations, because you did ask my thoughts this morning, what I thought about, and I literally just put them onto my feet for the first time today. Okay. So, a couple of observations. One, they're not the 9s. The 9s still stand out as my right out of the box favorite shoe that I've ever put on. This is the first Nano, I think I told you this before, that they don't have the CrossFit name on. It's just got Reebok and the Reebok logo all over it, not even the Delta logo on it like previous iterations of the Nano had, because the Delta is very closely associated with Reebok, with CrossFit. It does kind of look a lot like the 9. It's always interesting. It's kind of, I imagine that they sit in their design room and almost copy what Apple does, where Apple will have like a big refresh, like a whole new redesign, and then they've got like their what they call the mid-cycle, where they just tweak a couple of things, but the design is kind of pretty much the same. So to me, this is like the 9 with a couple of different design tweaks. One, they added about 12 inches of foam to the heel component of the shoe. It's so tall, like on the heel and then the tongue. I don't know why there's this much flappy stuff on the tongue. Hold on, if this can get on the microphone. I don't know what all that is. But anyway, so there's that from a design perspective. I did hear from some folks that they thought that this was a much bulkier shoe. It doesn't feel any different to me. What does feel significantly different is in the forefoot up here. It is a lot, I don't want to say narrower, because people always associate that with width, but just like the height, maybe that forefoot height of the shoe, so where the ball of your foot forward goes in is a lot thinner. So whereas the 9s, I felt like there was a lot of room top to bottom for my feet to move around. These feel a little bit tighter. So I don't necessarily like that. I imagine as the fabric kind of breaks in, it might loosen up a little bit. I do like the width, because it seems that they kept the width of the forefoot of the 9s in there, like I said. But they felt good today. We did some squatting, some push-ups. I did do one box jump, so
I saw that.
That felt good. No issues there. They don't feel like significantly heavier. I did jog to my car when I had to leave to go get my computer before the podcast, so they felt good for about the 50-meter jog that I did. Good. So, I mean, time will tell, but I think they've kind of settled into this, nice, comfortable. It's not super flexy like some of the earlier versions, kind of the 4, 3, 2, 1 Nano. They started to stiffen things up a little bit significantly with the 5. They realized that it was, I think, way too stiff with the 5, which is a garbage shoe. 6 was probably my next favorite shoe.
6s were awesome.
Because it was very similar to the 1, the fabric on the outside.
Yeah.
7s and 8s, not too bad. Like I said, the 9 is still my favorite. I know a lot of people love the 2s. You do. I think Marc James, he said the Nano 2 is his favorite, followed by the 9.
Yeah.
And exactly, the heel feels like it's higher in a 10. So, oh, and he did harken back to the t-shirt comment. He always wears my first CFG t-shirt on the first open workout. So those are becoming fewer and far in between. The OG with the old logo.
I don't even have one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I've got a slew of them at home.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna auction them off in like another 100 years.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was the quick little shoe thing. So I don't know if you need to timestamp that there, Marc.
No, that's good. I should probably go back and do that. I'll just title this layout. I like my X's or 10s or whatever we're going to call those. I've told you that Jim Godin, our head PT here, well, not ours, but X's head PT that is with us, you guys all know Jim Godin, said to not wear them based on what's going on with my body. So a little bit of individual design going on there. He told me not to wear them. At least to work out in. I love them for I think they're some of the best looking shoes. I think I love how they look. I like they definitely have more of a high top appearance than most of the Nanos.
Yes. Yeah, I will agree with that.
And I actually just pulled up the X1s because I had no idea that they released them. Like, I'm so behind. And it seems like maybe they took feedback or they just improved on some things, but the heel, the Achilles part definitely does look smaller, but higher than past Nanos. So maybe they took feedback into account. And dare I say, these kind of look similar to Nike Metcons. These X1s, I think. So just interesting. I like my 10s. I like doing things like you said. I probably wouldn't box jump in them. I think any sort of like weightlifting movement, they'd be pretty solid, and I wouldn't like run or like do double unders in them. But it's because like I feel like there is a lot of tongue, there is a lot of like stuff on the Achilles there.
Gotcha.
I'd rather wear my 2s as well. I told you I love my 2s. I've been thinking about actually getting another pair of 2s.
Which version of shoe of the Nano do you have the most pairs of?
The 9s. I have 3 pairs of the 9s.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. I love the 9s. I think they're all around pretty solid. I remember the only complaint I had about one of the pairs of 9s I have is that I got a blister running, a blister on my foot. But 2 things. One, it was a 30-minute ruck, and that was a progression from a 0-minute ruck that I've done. That was the most rucking I've ever done. And I just have external rotation on my foot. I'm just not. I just got a bunch of stuff going on with like my hips and ankles anyway, so I probably shouldn't have been rucking. So I don't think it's the shoe's fault. But I think like all around, the 2s and the 9s, pretty. I think you get more support with the 9s. But you get a little bit more freedom with the 2s.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, so sure. I think I'd agree with you. The 2s and the 9s are probably up there with the best of them. Those are probably.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got 3 pairs of the 2s, 3 pairs of the 9s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got. Yeah.
I think everything else I just have 1.
I like the 2s, the 4s, the 6s, the 9s. I had the 7 weaves, which were basically like their like fancy way of like improving on everything that was crappy about the 7s.
Right.
I really liked the 7 weaves.
Yeah.
Like those still sit in my trunk. Those are my backup shoes. I have them just in case like I need a different pair of shoes. I like the 10s, but I already told you what I think about those. But yeah, those are all my go-tos.
Cool. All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
What prediction do you have for this first open workout? And we won't go the open as a whole. We're just gonna go. Maybe we can do week by week.
Okay.
So what do you have for the first week? 21.1.
How much time do we have to talk about this?
Let's just say I want to be out of here by 11:30.
All right. Because Jeff asked me last night, and I think Jeff got way more than he bargained for because I started just.
He should know better by now.
Yeah, because I started like really analyzing it. So here's what I said. It's going to be something long, at least 15 minutes or longer in duration. I'll give like my general what I think it's gonna be, and then I'll give like a fun, like if I were to bet like on a repeat, here's what I think they would repeat. It's gonna be a long 15-minute or longer, low skill, endurance based, like here's the work, get it done, work capacity workout. And I say this based on what we've seen in the past. Ever since 2017, so like 2014, yeah, kinda, you had power snatches, double unders. 2015, it was a little bit higher skill, like toes to bar, deadlifts, heavier power snatches, like 115. I would say heavier for gym pop, the 99%. Followed by a 1RM clean and jerk. And then 2016, 16.1, overhead walking lunge, burpees over the bar, and chest to bar. So like I call that a pretty high skill workout.
That's very high skill.
Like overhead walking lunge with 95 pounds, like a lot of people were ticked off because it's like, man, that's a heavy overhead walking lunge for those that never do walking lunges. So excluding those, ever since 2017, it has been, we'll call fairly low skill.
Right.
Me do work in this amount of time. And I say that like a Neanderthal caveman because it's like, okay, like it's just how fit are you usually with the first one, or how well can you pace. So real quickly, 2017, 20-minute time cap, a long chipper, you had dumbbell snatches and burpee box jump overs.
Right.
So that's me lift weight, me do burpee and jump over box, right? So
I love this recap.
That's it. 2018, 20-minute AMRAP, which in 2017, most people, let's be real, got capped right at the 20 minutes. 2018, 20-minute AMRAP, you had toes to bar, dumbbell hand clean and jerk. Kind of technical. Of course, the more technical you are with those two movements, the better you'll be. And then rowing. That's,
That was an interesting one because at face value, people will look at it and say, well, it's, toes to bar, that's high skill. But it was so few toes to bar that even if you could literally just do one at a time, and then just move consistently throughout the rest of the movement, you could still put up a really, really good score relative to maybe somebody that is quote-unquote higher skill than you.
Yeah.
But you have just more sheer, work capacity.
And it's funny you say that because Adam Wright and I tied for first place in the whole gym in that workout.
He was right next to me and crushed me in that workout. I remember it like it was yesterday.
And so a 50-pound dumbbell for him, nothing, right? Rowing, he's a beast on the rower because he's so strong. Toes to bar, done as singles because it was 8 every round. Me, not as strong, pretty good on the rower, but toes to bar, I was strong at the time. Not that I'm not now. I'm just saying I'm better now, but I was stronger there. I did 4 and 4 every time, right? So cycling toes to bar versus him doing singles, and we tied in the workout, right, for first place. So very interesting. Still, 2018, long workout, a little bit lower skill. You can kind of skate by in that workout and work for 20 minutes. How much work can you get done?
Okay.
2019, 15-minute AMRAP, 19 wall balls, 19 calorie row. That is like stupid simple, right? I mean, that's just wall ball, me do wall ball, me row. And
me lift and throw rock. Me row across river.
Yeah, me protect family, me hunt food. 20.1, 15-minute time cap. Most people got capped on this one. 10 rounds of 8 ground to overhead, which they allow you to power snatch or clean and jerk, and 10 bar facing burpees. So again, very similar to 17.1. You had a hinging movement, now with a barbell, and now you had a burpee over something. So very, very similar to 17.1. So all of these workouts had movements that were fairly low skill, 15 minutes or longer, right? So you had a 20-minute, a 20-minute, a 15-minute, and then a 15-minute, and lower skill. So I think they found kind of a rhythm and how to get people like bought into the open and like excited. I think it'll be something like that.
What was 19 again? I'm sorry.
That was the wall ball in the row.
So I just thought about this. Every workout, at least that I can think of, going back to 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, all of them actually, in the first week, you've had your hands over your head.
Really?
Every single time.
11 was a power snatch, 12 was a burpee, 13 was
burpees and snatches.
Burpees and snatches, 14 was power snatch, 15 was toes to bar and snatches and clean and jerk, 16 overhead lunge, chest to bar, 17 snatches with the dumbbell, 18 toes to bar, and clean and jerk, 19 wall ball, 20 ground overhead. Wow.
Every time. So,
I don't know what's more impressive, that or the fact that we can remember that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm going to predict that we're going to go overhead with our hands in some fashion.
Okay, that's a good prediction.
I think that they will use a dumbbell because it's only one dumbbell.
Yeah.
So they will use a dumbbell and go overhead with it in some fashion. And I do think that it's just going to be what I like to call just grunt work, but what we are calling today like caveman. Me do work.
Yeah.
Me take this dumbbell and get it overhead. I don't think there's going to be anything really skill-based at all.
Not even like toes to bar double unders or anything?
So I don't think double unders. I think that they could potentially do toes to bar, but in a small enough volume, like we said about 2018. So there was 8 per round. Mm-hmm. And I know we're not given like exact workout parameters, but I say anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes. It's going to be very low skill. We're going to take a dumbbell and put it overhead. And I'm going to say 3 movements. And I say 3 because with the open, again, this is going kind of globally, but with the majority of people only doing 3 weeks of an open, they need to get as many things in there as possible.
Okay. Do you think they could do like a 0.1 and a 0.1A?
Oh, I definitely think that's possible.
Yeah.
But
if they do repeat, first
17.1.
Do you think they would repeat, first of all?
Yeah, I do. And I know the arguments against repeating is, well, you've only got 3 weeks and you don't want to keep doing the same things, but that's such a elementary perspective on the sport as a whole. Part of the sport is your repeatable test of fitness.
Yeah.
Because it kind of lends credence to say, hey, look, we did this test 4 years ago, and I'm speaking specifically to 17.1. Hey, we did this test in 2017, 4 years ago, with 300,000 people, and magic black box, we did it again in 21.1, and people have gotten fitter, so this works.
Right.
This whole thing works,
yeah.
right? So there is that element of retesting, and to say that they won't do that because there are only a couple of weeks for maximum inclusivity, I think is just being a little bit short-sighted. So yes, I do think we'll see a repeat. We've seen a chipper repeat. We've seen the first week workout be repeated with 11.1 and 13.1. And I think 17.1 lends itself very well to, it's the caveman work.
Yeah.
Lift this rock, jump over this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying this workout because I want to do it again. I hate that workout. Hated it.
I think I've done it 3 times total.
I think so, me too.
I've only finished it once.
Me too. It was like with a second to spare for me personally.
I think I had like less than 20. Like I remember the only reason I did because Marc James was coaching the class that we did it in,
mm-hmm.
and he was yelling at me like a burpee cadence, and I was like, dude, if you weren't there, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have finished it.
Yep.
I agree with you. I think it's a 50-50 chance that they'll repeat it. I think it's too tough to say. I don't think you can say whether or not they will or will not. I think as well it could be like a 17.1.
Yeah.
Because just based on the equipment they listed, based on what's going on with COVID still, and like it is, hey, do you have this box and do you have this one dumbbell weight? Awesome, and you can do this killer workout, right?
Yeah, something that I think that they did fairly early on well, and I'm speaking back to like the 2011, 2012, even into 2013 days, was they made that first workout seem at face value very low barrier to entry. Now, you could argue the very first open workout ever had double unders and power snatches, but back then, the double under number was, or the double under skill was seen as something like, well, most people that are doing it that were your real hardcore kind of underground CrossFitters, they had already kind of gotten their head wrapped around. the sport hadn't really reached this critical mass where there was so many people coming in that had never even picked up a jump rope, to where that was then seen as high skill. And I know that's just a strange concept to kind of wrap your brain around, that it went from being relatively low skill to high skill, but now we're seeing it high skill in volume repetitions. So you look back at, what was that workout with the thruster, double under, was it 10 rounds or 9 rounds per time or something like that? So it wasn't a whole lot of reps per round, but it was a lot of repetition added up over time. And that ends up lending itself well to it being a skill component in the end. So, but saying all that to say that I think if they're really invested in growing the sporting side and making it as inclusive as it appears at face value they're trying to do, they do need to make it fairly low skill. A burpee, throw this weight overhead. You can take anybody off the street with some decent strength and an engine, and they can really perform well in that workout.
Yeah, it was cool watching people do 17.1 in here, because I was talking to Marc about it the other night. I think he was one of like maybe 7 or 8 people out of, I don't know how many we had do the open that year. 40 people do the open.
Probably like 80 that year.
Right? So, he was like one of 7 or 8 people that finished it that year, which is just like crazy. Like he had like Jim, Andrew, they finished it. Andrew finished it at the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, he sure did.
Steph, Tim, Marc, Adam, Jay, like unreal.
Yeah.
Just how difficult and how our back felt the next day.
Oh man, Final. Real quick, Melissa is able. No one likes the threes. I honestly had to look up which ones the threes were. The threes were the nano threes. Sorry for people that just checked in with us.
Yeah.
The threes were the ones that kind of had that like rubbery shell on the outside. I did actually like those. They became my lawn mowing shoes. I like them wearing them so much. But alas, that's not one that they got enough like back end support on that forced them to continue to make them like they did with the twos.
Yeah.
So they kind of fell off into the ether. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, so now we are going to talk about programming quite a bit, which is good, because I think people like talking about it, but also it's going to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what we're going to be seeing with our next block of training. So we are finishing up week 5 of block number 2 now.
And what was the focus of this one?
Yeah, so the focus of this one was upper body pulling volume.
Yep.
So building up volume and upper body pulling, vertical upper body pulling movements. And still just like scapular control. So teaching us how to like put our shoulder blades in a safe and stable position in most of the movements we do. So hollow in our swings, work on the bar, whether it's pull-ups or toes to bar. Mm-hmm. We've done pen lay rows, we've done dumbbell tempo pen lay rows, we've done tempo dumbbell push press, we've done floor press, we've done all of these things that require we've done a ton of carries, like require a ton of scapular stabilization to 1, build that area, 2, teach you how to use it once it's built. Right? So because we want to minimize injury as much as we can, right? We're here for longevity, sustainability, and we don't want to see shoulder injuries.
Correct.
So we saw a lot of pull-ups. We actually just finished up with the last pull-up day yesterday, and we went from doing, 5 to 7 reps?
No, the first one was 3 to 5.
Really? 3 to 5, 5 to 7? Wow, yeah. So 3 to 5 reps to the last week was 11 to 13.
Yeah.
Which I have some thoughts on that after watching the class and how I kind of planned that out and stuff like that. But a huge increase. So anywhere from, 18 to upwards of 66 on the low end. Yeah. Which I think you did yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
You sore?
No, I feel pretty good. That was a really good kind of stepwise. I was just doing the math in my head as you were of the number of pull-ups that I did in that first week. I think if I remember back, I have to look at my notes to be more clear on it, but I'm pretty sure that I did a couple rounds of 3, a couple rounds of 4, a couple rounds of 5, but let's just call it like 25 pull-ups. Mixed in regular kip, butterfly, chest to bar, but as volume continued to go up, I really wanted to stay true to what you had intended, and so I just picked one thing, did just a basic kipping pull-up, and finished out. I think starting with the third week, I skewed towards the low end. So that was the week of like 7 to 9. I did 7, 9 to 11. I did 9, and then yesterday I did 11 instead of like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So to go from 25 to 66 in a matter of 5 weeks, I thought that was really good. It's also you asked about me being sore. I think it's also a consideration of training age, relative volume in terms of what I'm capable of expressing, recovering from, and adapting. So 66 pull-ups in the grand scheme of things seems like a lot, but when I've done workouts in excess of 120 plus pull-ups, it's not a whole lot, but relative to where we started is what I look at. I try to take like historical context out of it and just look at relative context right now. And it was good.
The planking as well. We moved up from 30 to 35, 40, 45, and then
that was
50
harder than the pull-ups for me.
And being able to get back on the bar for the pull-ups or still hold a 50-second plank, like after they've interacted with each other, is a huge progression.
Yeah.
The way I think about it is like when people are like, oh yeah, it took 5 weeks to get there, and it took a while, and we've been doing the same thing for 5 weeks, which if you want my thoughts on that and our thoughts on that, go listen to the other episode.
So last episode.
But it's like, how would you feel? So how do you feel today? You said you're not that sore.
Yeah, I feel good.
How would you feel had we done yesterday's progression 5 weeks ago? If we were just like here's some constant variance. You should be ready to perform 11 to 13 pull-ups every minute, whenever. Like, how would you feel today?
Yeah, I would be wrecked.
Yeah.
My hands would probably be torn. I wouldn't be able to lift my arms over my head because my lats would be so locked down and tight. I'd probably have pain in my left shoulder that I've had before. I'd probably have pain in my left elbow that, by the way, is like non-existent nowadays.
Good.
So there'd be all these things happening, and then I would just band-aid it with some, lacrosse ball, voodoo band, strap, wrap, all that kind of stuff, and just keep on pressing through until I had a big breakdown.
Yeah. So that was kind of last block. Again, the focus was upper body vertical pulling volume. So building up some volume there, partly in anticipation of the open, because we know there's a percentage of people that care about that. Partly because just being able to handle volume, strengthen the shoulders, stuff like that, scapular control, healthy shoulders. This next block,
which we start next week.
Which we start on Monday.
Which is the week of the 15th of March.
Yep, today is the 10th. So in 5 days is when we start this next block. The focus of this is, I've dubbed it tensile strength and body control. So this is something that was bred from something you actually said to me as I was doing the plank one day. And I was like, I find it so funny how I do a 40-second plank and I'm shaking like crazy, right? But I'm somebody that can clean and jerk 225. Mm-hmm. I can snatch over 200 pounds, right? So it's not like I'm weak, but I can't hold a plank for 40 seconds without strengthening.
Right.
And you said to me, or without shaking, and you said, well, your tensile strength, obviously your explosive strength, or it's much higher than your tensile strength. So your isometric strength, you just can't generate as much force. And I was like, not to sound arrogant, but I'm like, if I'm this way,
right?
Like if I'm with the weight I'm lifting, I imagine that other people are feeling this way too. Whether they're lifting more than me, which a lot of people do, whether they're not lifting more than me.
Yeah.
So I took that into account, and that's when I started watching people's movement. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, are they adjusting their hands in the middle of a plank because they're getting uncomfortable in the one position they're holding?
Yeah.
Are they? What does their bottom position in their reps look like? Their floor press, their dumbbell deadlifts, their burpees, their whatever. What does their bottom position look like? Do they look tense? What do their push-ups look like, right? And so I started realizing that, tensile strength is something we could definitely work on. And so we're going to work on that. And we're going to do it in a way that appeases what we want to accomplish, we as in the coaches, and in a way that gives people some more fun lifts that they like doing. So for example, we have a day where we're progressing bench press, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people like bench pressing, right? A lot of people always ask me, Mark, why don't we squat anymore? We have a day where we're squatting. We're going to be doing some back squats with a barbell. right? So,
real quick, if you've said that comment, why don't we squat anymore? You just haven't been showing up, because I can tell you that we have been. Especially like today. I was trying to do the math of how many squats I did today. So anyways, keep going.
I agree with you, because people are like, why don't we ever squat? And when they say that, they mean, why don't we squat with a barbell from the rack with 90% or more of my max thrown on there?
Right.
And it's like, you're squatting all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, your
yeah,
guys
it's
are just as strong,
I get it.
right?
Yeah.
So we have a day with back squats, right? So we're seeing these things that people, quote, like doing, but of course we have our own little twist on them, because you got it, right? So we got to have to accomplish what we want, and to progress people, and to really help us be better, fitter people.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just kind of verbal diarrhea.
No, so I'll give people a little bit of context into why the tension or tensile strength that you're kind of defining right now, where it kind of sits in terms of progression of physical characteristics. So when you are brand new, low training age, don't have a lot of experience in fitness, have not followed anything that's progressive in nature or anything like that, the first place that you want to start is what we would call motor control. So that's a fancy word physiologically that just basically means we need to teach you how to move. Like a bicep curl looks like this, and if you're only listening, just imagine what a bicep curl looks like. So motor control means you need to get really good at that specific movement. What muscles to fire as the load gets heavier, how much motor unit recruitment do you need, what does tempo do to things, time under tension, all that kind of stuff. So, motor control kind of comes in first. Then you have next on kind of this continuum and we're talking about like contractions. In the continuum of contractions, you have strength endurance. So let's just stick with the bicep thing. So motor control this is how you do the movement. Strength endurance is, okay, I've got a 10-pound weight. You've shown that you have the ability to express this, recover and adapt from it. Now let's see, how deep into repetitions you can go. So you start to really get into volume. And that's when people say, oh, I need more volume at this, that's actually what they're talking about in most cases is, I need more repetition. I need to build some more strength endurance.
Okay.
The next thing after that, a lot of people will jump to, okay, now we need to get to maximal contractions because we've shown the ability to turn on motor units and fire them in the correct sequence to make the movement correct. Then we built strength endurance. Now it's like, now throw on some weight and let's get strong. Well, before you get to max contractions, there's this little kind of gray area where we need to teach you to actually bear down, get tight. In the plank analogy that you used where you were watching people and they were kind of self-organizing, and I know that I did this, I actually had to drop down from the top of a push-up down onto my forearms yesterday for the last 2 rounds to make sure that I could get my 50 seconds, just strictly because I could not hold that same body position for 50 seconds with the arms extended. So you watching the plank and understanding, okay, we actually need people to get really good at being able to hold that tensile strength for an extended period of time. Because you notice when people have done, for those of you that have a decent training age, when you've done singles, doubles, or triples, that's not too bad. It starts to suck when you get into 5s or more.
Yeah.
Or to take it to the extreme, if you've ever done a 20 rep back squat, there is nothing more painful in life than that. And the funny part is it's not about the load. People will often try to describe the feeling that they have as it's my midline or my core or my abs or my back. Like that's all that, and that's really where you capture this tensile strength from. So the connection that people should kind of have is, okay, we've done a period of motor control and strength endurance, and I know people want to get to this period of like being able to express max contractions, but before they do that, they have to specifically learn how to grab tension in the movement specifically. So if it's a back squat, it's similar tension as to what you are doing in a plank, but now we're standing and we're loading, axially, I'm loading my skeleton, things like that. So now what you're talking about, I know you said it much more layman's terms, but I do want to kind of lay out what we're doing from a progression standpoint so people can understand, oh, tensile strength, okay, we're not just looking to stand there, we're moving, we're doing some actual repetition with this load, but the whole idea is to strengthen that mid part of the body.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't even think of the 20 RM back squat. You know, just the difference between that and a 1 RM is I'd rather do 10 1 RMs than 1 20 RM, just because it's
every day of the week. I would rather do that. I would rather do that every day of the week than a 20 rep once a year.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't get excited if your ears perked up when Josh said, "Hey, I'm looking for the opportunity to express max, muscular contraction." That doesn't mean that's coming up.
Yeah. And so what I mean by like max contraction is not a 1 rep max, but when you wrap your head around this idea of really kind of, just being able to fire every motor unit in your body to lift a weight. That is really what we're talking about by max contraction. And not everybody, number one, needs to get to that point. And there is a large percentage of people that just from a training age and progression perspective, that they are still a long ways off from even having the physical capability to get to that point of expressing max contractions, which, by the way, you have to go through that before, so we would call that max contraction is also like absolute strength. And then you would progress into strength speed, which is like your power clean, power snatch, clean snatch variations, like the more explosive. And then you would get into speed strength and then finally absolute speed stuff. So just for people that are thinking they can see like continuums in their head.
Yeah,
that's for that.
Science.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about each day specifically?
Yeah, I think that would be really cool to have. And you just talking about just laying out like the first week of
So what we're going to see on Monday.
Yeah. So you just walk us through.
Yeah. So.
And I'll just kind of pepper in questions here and there.
Okay. So I'll try not to make it too long-winded. First is we're going to have bench press on Monday. So if you're here on Monday, we're going to be having bench press. And just with everything going on, I also threw a note in there that if you're uncomfortable sharing equipment and like being within like closer quarters of one another, we can still accomplish this with floor press.
Yes.
So you do not have to do a
100%.
bench press and share equipment with people if you do not feel comfortable at all. You can still accomplish this, but with a barbell floor press. So we've been using a lot of dumbbells. You would just use a barbell this time and still complete it with a tempo. So the first progression is 3 sets of 5 on the bench press at a moderate weight with a 2-2-x1 tempo. So that's you unrack the bar, 2 seconds down, 2-second pause in the bottom, explode up, and then a 1-second pause at the top, or really however long you need at the top. Take a second before coming back down. So a lot of control to the bottom, a lot of pause in the bottom, and then exploding up. So a lot of tensile strength required there, and especially like activating the shoulders so that you're not just like relaxing on your chest, right? You gotta stay real active.
So interesting thing about that, and I start to think about this a lot, or I always have, is like the tempo, and then it ends up dictating like your time under tension. So you're looking at about at least 30 seconds per set that you are going to be lifting a weight. So where my head always goes is, okay, well I'm not banging out 5 reps as quickly as I can. No. The load is far different than if I know I'm going to be moving this thing for 30 seconds.
Yeah. That
is where people can start to kind of make some inroads into their head. And I used this term earlier, I don't know why it's just popped into my language today a couple of times, but like self-organized is, okay, they see 5 reps. Really what they should see is I'm going to be bench pressing for 30 seconds. Yeah. And what does the load look like there? That's a very different conversation.
And so that's why it says moderate weight, because most people would look at a 3x5 no tempo. Like if you've been around long enough, a 3 sets of 5, that's gonna be heavy, right?
Yeah.
You got
for the most part, yeah.
You got 3 sets of 5 heavy reps. It says moderate weight today because 1, you got that tempo in there. You're going to be lifting for a long time.
Yep.
2, if you've been doing the block programming up to this point, you know that we're going to be progressing it. So like, don't start, gentlemen, at 225 and go, man, I did my 3 sets of 5, because this last week, like, I'll just tell you, we end up at 6x8.
Yeah,
right?
wow.
So it's, it's
Okay.
going to be a lot of volume.
Yeah, and so the interesting thing about that, I was doing some continuing education, and this is, several weeks ago, we were going over time under tension, tempo, and how to make sure that people are using it correctly. And of course, the 22x1 tempo is important. It's not like you're legitimately like watching the clock, but people need to have, the mantra in their head that it's, 1 1000, 2 1000, 1 1000, 2 1000, up, 1 1000, they go. And they need to, the most important part is to keep that cadence for all of the different weeks of progression they're in. Because to your point, let's say that they start off in week 1 and they're doing 225, and they get to week 3 and the reps have gone up, and they're still using 225, but suddenly it's like, oh man, 1 1000, 2, and they're, instead of spending 5 seconds per rep, they're spending 2 to 3 seconds per rep. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but over time, you're actually not progressing the way that you think you are. So in your mind, you're thinking, oh man, this 225 feels easier.
Yeah.
And it's actually not. You're not doing the same thing because you are going against tempo. And if you've ever done like heavy doubles or heavy triples, I always go back to the days when I've done doubles and triples in a back squat. You know, if you're supposed to be doing some eccentric control work and you start to get a little bit loose with the tempo in the final couple sets, it's like, okay, I'm not actually expressing what I'm supposed to be expressing. You might still be lifting the weight, but you are now deviating from the intended stimulus.
Yeah, exactly. Another note I'll have is, one, as coaches, like, we're going to know, okay, like, Monday at 9 a.m. we know is a big class, right? So sharing the bench press, changing weights on and off, like, we're going to be aware of that to make sure class is structured appropriately so that we can get the work done in a time frame, because it says 15 minutes to complete it, maybe it takes 20, like, just to be aware of that. Also, I think as, like, people taking the class, it's gonna, like, you're gonna learn how to be a pit crew, like, changing weights on.
I like those days.
Yeah, because it's everybody's always working. There's not much lollygagging, because like at the end with the 6x8, dude, like, that's gonna take a long time. Yeah, and you gotta move. So that would be fun. Bench press, I'm excited for that. A lot of tempo control there. The Metcon on this day, every 4 minutes for 3 sets, 2 rounds of 8 bar facing burpees, 8 power cleans at 75-55. So we have an upper body pushing movement, horizontal, just like with the bench press, just carrying that over, and we have a hinge. Yeah. And so I was struggling, and I was like, well, do we do a power clean or do we do a kettlebell swing? And this is where the members kind of got in my head a little bit, and not that I was talking to them, but I was just like, okay, like, it's a power clean, right? It's fairly light. It's a hinging movement, as light as like a 53-35 kettlebell swing would be, just about the same. And so it's just another hinging movement that we could kind of throw in there, burpees over the bar in a barbell. So that was kind of the idea there. So 2 rounds of that in 4 minutes, then you get to rest. Of course, your score is the last one, so get better across each one.
And I'm assuming, like with so many things that we've done in the past, 10 weeks, you're going to progress that to do, whether it's every 4 minutes and then every 5 minutes, whatever, and then end up in potentially an AMRAP fashion.
Yeah, so actually the next week is the same exact thing, 2 rounds of 8 and 8. So we're not progressing anything other than the time domain. And instead of every 4 minutes for 3 sets, it's every 3 minutes for 4 sets.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah.
And so if anybody's concerned, like, man, that's 16 burpees and that's 16 power cleans, like, in 3 minutes, I don't know if I can do that. Like, that's what the coach is there to do. Like, you're going to have your plan individualized for you. If you can't, like, we can modify the burpee amount, because you already got your chest press in with the bench press.
Yeah.
We can modify the burpee amount and make sure you're all squared away.
I'm really interested, because I made this comment after today. We did a floor press, and then we had a really, at least for me, I can't speak for others, but people that know me well enough have heard me say push-ups are not my strength whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But today, after floor pressing, the push-ups were almost effortless for me. So I'm really interested to see how burpees feel after doing some good bench press work.
Yeah.
So like we talked last time about just learnings and workouts and things like that. So these are the things that I'm always thinking about. And I know that I'm unique in that way. Most people listening are not giant nerds like we are. But anyways, okay, cool. So that's Monday. Hey, we're just through one day. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome, right? We got 17 minutes. So day 2, we've been doing a lot of lunges, a lot of single leg movements. Now this is the day where you get to express it, right? So I like the word that you've been using, Josh, express it. We're looking at a weightlifting piece of perfect back squats. Not only back squats, but we're looking for perfect back squats. This says 4 by 8 at a lightweight. So I know we're back squatting, I know you want to go heavy. This says at a lightweight with a 2-1-x1 tempo. So now you're going 2 seconds down, a 1 second brief pause on the bottom, active, explode up, and then just a brief pause at the top of, set up for the next rep, 2 seconds down, 1 second active pause on the bottom, explode up, 8 reps there. So again, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, upwards of 40 seconds with the back squat there. So that's why we want to keep it light. A note about this day is, yes, the back squats are perfect. You're going to see a snarky little note in Wodify, and it's going to say these should look and feel perfect. Feeling is subjective to you, the member, the client, the person completing the back squat. Looking is subjective to the coach. So if the coach tells you, like, hey, it did not look perfect, like you cannot go up and weight, then that is law. And I don't say it to be like a jerk, but we just want to make sure we're moving perfectly and achieving this and just moving well, right? We don't want to do all these squats and end up with knee pain after 5 weeks. Right?
Yeah, because what I'm thinking about as a coach is I'm not looking at the first or second rep in the first set that you do. I'm thinking about knowing who you are because I've seen you move enough times in that pattern, the squatting pattern. So we're going upwards of 35, 40 seconds per set. We're doing 4 sets at 8.
Yeah.
What is your 7th and 8th rep going to look like in the 4th set?
Right.
That's what you really need to be thinking about. So if you don't do your first couple of reps thinking, man, that was super, super easy, like it felt like there was no weight on my back, you went too heavy.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the conversation I'm always having with myself in my head. Whenever I know that, okay, it's tempo, I'm going to have to be holding this bar up there for a long time, I can kind of give you guys a hint that it's not going to be your legs that are going to get tired. It's going to be your midline.
Yeah, for sure. You should have those last 2 reps look identical to your first 2. Like, that's a good thing to think about.
I think it would be cool. I've got a really neat feedback cue that I've used with folks with the PVC pipe. Maybe we can set aside some time to shoot video for not just the coaches, but also for the members to see how they can judge, am I doing this movement correct? And what is something that I can, ask the coach to help me with in terms of figuring out, am I staying true to form? No pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just maybe a mental note on that one.
And then another note for that one is rest exactly 2 minutes between sets. And so without giving too much away, like that's really important to this progression. So resting exactly 2 minutes because in the future we might be modifying that a little bit.
Dropping the rest, yeah.
So
cool. Awesome, I like that.
Instead.
All right.
The Metcon on that day is very Helen-esque. So that's what kind of inspired it a little bit, the benchmark workout Helen, but we're kind of progressing towards something like that, and I think in a much smarter way. It's every 5 minutes for 3 sets, 1 lap around the building, 21 kettlebell swings, 8 to 12 unbroken pull-ups, depending on where you were at this last progression, right? So if your number's 3, awesome, it's 3, like and you're working those kipping pull-ups. If you want to get the volume in, awesome, we're not going to do it broken. We're not going to do like a 3-3-2 to get our 8. Let's add some assistance, do them strict, and get that volume in. But now we're able to see a monostructural movement with a run, a weightlifting, and then a higher skill gymnastics movement thrown into a Metcon that we can slowly progress. So that's every 5 minutes, 1 lap, 21 kettlebell swings, and 8 to 12 unbroken reps on the pull-up bar.
So basically, no matter what they choose for the upper body pulling, you want to see it unbroken.
Yes.
And it's not just unbroken on that first set, it's unbroken for all 3 sets.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be like an 8 to 12 unbroken reps. It's like, okay, I'm going to start with 12, and then I end up with 10, and then I go 8. It's like, no. 8 to 12 is your number that you're doing for that workout. So
Right.
like if you choose 12, you better be able to do 12 every time.
Right. Yep.
If you choose 8, then it's 8 every time.
Yep. Okay, I like that. Would you, and this is just kind of a thought that I had, would you say from a coaching perspective, when you've got, you know, a group of people in front of you, and obviously we just got done doing that pull-up progression where we ended with that whole 11 to 13. Now everybody was at a different spot, but whatever they ended at, is that a good gauge of maybe where they should be for the workout?
I would say take the number that you are most consistently hitting there, subtract 2.
Okay.
And then that's going to be your range. So say you ended at 11, and I know you were to do 11. Your number's probably going to be somewhere between 9 and 11.
Okay.
Or that 8 to 12 range, because I know your capabilities on pull-ups. But I would say, like, if we were to use that example with everybody, like 9 to 11 reps, because you're going to be doing it after 21 kettlebell squats now. And that's really going to impact you on the bar.
Yeah.
So that way you're not beating yourself up. It's like, man, I was doing 9 every time before, and then I went like 5, and 6. It's like, okay, like you can aim for that.
That's a really good point, because it's not just a matter of your heart rate going to be up because it got up after doing the plank for 50 seconds, but it's also a kettlebell swing is an upper body pull movement.
Yeah.
And it's really grip intensive.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's that. Okay, awesome. I like that.
Day 3, aerobic day, 30-minute conversational pace. We don't have to go over too much there. That's just another emphasis on body control that we have for that day there. Day 4, we are doing some upper body horizontal pulling now, and we are doing some upper body vertical pushing. So we have single arm dumbbell bent over row supported, so on a box or a bench or something. So you're doing some rows, some bro stuff people like to call it.
So I just, real quick, not to interrupt, I just saw one of the gym owners that I work with, they call that a tripod dumbbell row.
There you go.
Man, that's a really great descriptive term. I've never heard it called that.
Yeah, and it's
tripod supported dumbbell row.
It's way less to say than single arm dumbbell bent over row supported.
Yeah. So we're gonna steal that and trademark it.
Boom.
Thank you, Kelly.
And then we have a half kneeling single arm dumbbell strict press. So
I love that movement.
Oh, it's so good.
I love that movement.
And if you've never done it, you're gonna love it. It's so much fun. Both of those are 3 sets of 5 each side at a moderate weight. No tempo there. You can use different weights. Just make it look good. Like, it's going to be at a moderate weight. It shouldn't be too heavy. It should not be too light. We're looking for something moderate to where you're like, okay, like, yeah, I feel like I lifted some weight without being crushed.
I love those 2 movements in particular. Anytime there's something unilateral, but those 2 movements, especially the half kneeling one, I love to watch people do it for the first time, because I'll speak for all of you. You will grab a dumbbell that's heavier than you are capable of doing and doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And then you'll figure out a way with your lower body to stabilize such that you can press it. And you'll say to yourself, well, I just proved him wrong. I was able to do it. And then I'll come over and put you into the right position, and then you'll quickly see that you probably need to grab about half of the weight that you just had.
Yeah.
And I know this because I've done all the cheating ways. You're not going to find a new way to cheat.
No.
But just know that I will be watching.
He's good. He knows all the tricks in the book.
This is Thursday?
This is Thursday next week.
All right, I'll make sure that I'm here on Thursday.
The Metcon, fairly simple. 10-minute AMRAP. You're going to do 10 calories on the machine. You're going to do 10 alternating box step-ups at body weight.
Oh.
That's it. It's 10 calories, 10 step-ups at body weight. That's what. It's one of those, like we were talking about with the open, me do work.
Yeah.
I like that. Just do some work for 10 minutes after you lift some.
It's funny where my head goes. I'm already strategizing, like, okay, if I get on the row, or let's just say that's my machine, I can push the row pretty good and then slow the step ups down enough to bring my heart rate down such that I can just really. Okay, cool.
And then day 5, weightlifting. We have barbell RDLs bilateral, so 2 legs. So if you had a mini heart attack thinking we were doing single leg RDLs again, you don't need the defib. You're going to be doing 2 leg RDLs with a barbell. This says 4 sets of 8 at a lightweight, supersetted with Bulgarian split squats, so rear foot elevated split squats, 4 sets of 8 each side at body weight. So again, this is more single leg control now. We're elevating that rear foot, and we're just going down, nice and controlled, coming on up. 4 sets of 8 each side, and this stays at body weight throughout the whole block. But we will be changing the sets and reps. The barbell RDL is 4x8 at a lightweight. We have some notes on this. You must use a double overhand grip on the RDLs, and you cannot use a weightlifting belt. No weightlifting belt allowed on the RDLs.
What's the reason for that?
It's a crutch.
Yeah.
It's a crutch, and I don't want to be too big of a jerk, but it doesn't provide any real benefit other than, like, think if you need something to lift this certain weight, should you be lifting that weight in the first place?
Yes. I don't mean yes, you should.
Yeah.
I mean yes, I agree with your statement. Sorry, let me.
And the barbell RDLs, like, we want to stress this needs to be super light, like, because.
Is there a tempo on that? I'm sorry if I missed that.
There is no tempo on that, but
I would put a tempo on it.
Throw a tempo?
I would put a tempo on both of those.
Like a 2-second eccentric?
Yeah.
Awesome. For both?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I'm throwing that in right now.
I would
you guys can thank Josh for it.
Yeah, I would put a tempo on that because that's really going to just control people in terms of the loading that they're looking for. I was going to say especially for the rear foot elevated split squat, but for both.
Yeah.
And just for context, we just got done doing the farmer carry reverse lunge, like in-place reverse lunge. And so when you get into a elevated split squat, a couple of things change. There are a couple of differences between a split squat and a lunge. A lunge, you are stepping in and out of that split pattern, whereas with a split squat, your feet remain in that split stance the whole time.
Yeah.
So lunge, you're stepping in and out of something. A split squat, you remain there the whole time. When we elevate the rear foot, it actually increases the difficulty because your range of motion increases.
Yeah. So that'll be a little bit trickier. It'll be fun. And now there's going to be a 2-second eccentric on every single rep, which I like.
Yeah.
The RDLs, we're keeping it light because those things will light you up like a good morning.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a good morning below the knee.
Yeah.
Or below the shoulder blade, I'm sorry.
Yep.
The Metcon, this is on a 13-minute clock. You're going to do 3 minutes of work followed by 2 minutes of rest 3 times. So 3 on, 2 off, 3 sets of that. During your 3 minutes of work, you're going to do as many rounds and reps as possible of 4 alternating dumbbell snatches, returning to our 6 unbroken toes to bar, so we're getting a little bit more bar work.
Yep.
And then 24 reps on the jump rope. So 4, 6, 24, 3-minute AMRAP, 2-minute rest, repeat it 3 times. You'll restart each AMRAP at the start, and of course get better across each one. So just learning how to pace, learning how to do, again, these higher
3 sets?
3 sets, yep. And then we will progress through that over the next couple weeks.
You may have said this, but just to clarify, is it going to be like we've seen in weeks past where the idea behind some of the work and rest pieces is to either keep consistent scores / times or get better or faster?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, because I think it's working really well.
Yeah.
I think it's like we talked about last week, or the week before, whenever we talked about it, it's really clicking with people.
Yep.
That's something we've noticed. And 2, I mean, it just teaches you how to be sustainable.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah. Yeah, this last block, it has been so neat to see the progression because I haven't missed any days. I think save for one day that I either had to come in early or I did something at home or something like that, but I didn't do it at the same time that I normally would. But I have been here for all of them and seen them all the way through. I'm obviously looking forward to finishing out the last couple for Thursday and Friday, but it's really been neat to see because in almost every instance of the different workouts and things that we have progressed, the first week or two in my head because I know what's coming and a lot of folks don't.
Yeah.
And if people want to know, just ask us. We've really opened the book on the programming because nothing needs to be a secret, and I do think that there is some more buy-in when people can see the plan. Anyways, because I know what's coming, there is a part of me that is thinking, man, I don't think that I can progress that to the level that we are going to be getting to 5 weeks from now. But in every case, I have.
Yeah.
I have been able to do that. So, yeah, it's been refreshing to see the intelligence within the design.
Yeah, and it's been fun for a few reasons because you and I have collaborated on a lot of it, and I think that's fun because I get to see how your brain works surrounding that thing being like programming, and our approach to it now. It's been totally different from what I was used to doing, 8 weeks ago, or 10 weeks ago,
Right.
10, 12 weeks ago. And it's a learning experience, and it's been really, really cool, and I get all these fun ideas that I want to come up with.
Yeah, there's something to be said for picking something and seeing it through, to the end, because we have this quote with our mentor team that work with business owners that, owners are never short on good ideas, and I think the same can be true for you as a programmer or a head coach. You're never going to be short on good ideas of what to do, but really the worst thing that you can do is always be chasing squirrels.
Yeah. Yeah.
But staying focused and saying nope, like you had the hard line on the running intervals that we've been doing, which was probably the most fun thing that, I don't know, they were all really, really fun, but I think that one sticks out to me the most because that one had the least appeal to me at week 1, but you had such a hard line of, nope, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to progress it, and saw it all the way through to the end. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Chris Villar chimed in 27 minutes ago. That picture is hung on the wall, Chris. You don't like the way that it looks? What's the matter? Yeah. I would like to see Chris Villar around here more.
Yeah, he said he comes in here when I'm not here, and I'm like,
yeah, what are you trying to say, Chris? Yeah, when are you coming in, Chris? Awesome. This is fun. I hope people listen to the programming piece.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe ask some questions like, hey, why are you doing this? Why aren't we doing this? When are we going to see this? Just questions about what's going on. The more that you guys ask questions, the more that we can answer them and educate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for picking my brain. I feel like the last 2 episodes I've kind of taken a lot of the spotlight, so I'm sorry for that.
No, it's not about me. It's about the people, Mark.
That's right.
Yeah.
People want to hear me. Just kidding. They want to hear about programming.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Josh is going to take it away with the outro. Thank you, Josh, for your time. Thank you to everybody that listened or tuned in live. 5-star written review on iTunes. If you're on SoundCloud, get on iTunes and leave a 5-star written review. That's it, I think. Josh, do the outro.